What does a sadistic plot to marry a shrew and a play within a play have in common? Shakespeare. William Shakespeare. That's who. Let's talk about it. Welcome to our crash course video. I'm Mateo. Let's get right into it. Today we're going to be talking about William Shakespeare, Taming of the Shrew play.
Mateo, pick me.
What fifth grader me?
You're actually kind of wrong. Julius Caesar, Macbeth, Midsummer Night's Dream, and Romeo and Juliet are the plays that Shakespeare wrote, not Taming of the Shrew. I never heard of it, so it probably doesn't exist.
You're partially correct, fifth grader me. Not a lot of people know about this play. This play was published in 1590 to 1592. Historians have a rough time trying to pinpoint the accurate date of this published play, because two other plays were published during the same time. Taming of a Shrew and The Shrew. I know, original. You can only imagine how people felt when trying to go to Globe and trying Taming of the Shrew, and were surprised to watch Taming of the Shrew, a ripoff, I know. Before unraveling the tales of Taming of the Shrew, we must understand the historical background which it was written in. It was written in the Elizabethan era, so not a lot of women had social status or legal status in their men's eyes. To be called a shrew meant that you were a woman who constantly had outbursts against the status quo for which women were put in constantly. You were usually married off with a large dowry, of which your father provided to men in order to tame you. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. The play opens up with Christopher Sly, a drunkard who is passed out at a bar. A nobleman stumbles upon him and decides to play a prank on him. He decides to pull the prank of making him believe that he was a long-lost noble, waking up in his own bed. So when Christopher Sly wakes, he is convinced, to the nobleman's surprise, and when asked what he would like to do first, since upon waking and being found, he decides of the only imaginative thing he could think of. More alcohol. I know, original. But still, he also asked for a play, and so this is where Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew truly begins. We open upon the city of Padua with Lucentio, a student at the local school, and his servant Tranio come upon the fairest maiden in the city, Bianca. Having Cupid arrows hitting his heart, Lucentio knows that he must have her, but realizes three things. He is expected to be at school. Bianca has two suitors, Gremio and Hortensio, and 3. Bianca is not allowed to be married off until her older sister, Katherine, the shrew of the play, is married off and tamed. So in Shakespearean fashion, we have three guys going after the same prize, and in Shakespearean fashion, they each have to have their own plan. Lucentio plans to dress up like a tutor and woo Bianca by teaching her. He will also dress up his servant as himself, while he attends school and woos Bianca, just in case. Gremio and Hortensio make a bet to find a guy to marry Katherine so they can get Bianca. Gremio hires Cambio, which is actually Lucentio in disguise, as a tutor, and Hortensio gets his friend, Petruchio, a very handsome man who is desperate for a wife and some money, and also disguises himself as a tutor for Bianca, and hopes to woo her even more. Hortensio fills in Petruchio on how Katherine is a shrew, but Petruchio says he got this. Confused yet? Good. He's doing a good job of storytelling. There's a lot of weird names, similar names, and a lot of flip-flopping back and forth and disguises throughout this play. Anyways, Hortensio introduces Petruchio to Baptista, which is Katherine's and Bianca's father, saying, "Here is a gentleman whom by chance I met. Upon agreement from us to his liking, will undertake to woo cursed Katherine, bad-tempered, quarrelsome, shrewish, cross, and to marry her, if her dowry please." Baptista agrees to Petruchio's offer. Petruchio is granted a hefty dowry and 20,000 crowns, which is around $2 million in today's money, if Katherine consents to marriage with him. So naturally, Petruchio walks into Katherine's room and starts beginning to flirt with her, and they immediately hit it off and live happily ever after. That's what Shakespeare would have written if he wasn't crazy. But for us, he was. So immediately they started throwing curses, saying, "If I be waspus, best beware my sting." Okay, back then that was a big deal to say to a man. But anyways, it's time for intermission. Olivia, take it away with our open letter.
What the... Is it that time already? The open letter. All right. Thy husband is thy lord, thy life, thy keeper, thy head, thy sovereign, the one that cares for thee, and for thy maintenance commits his body to painful labor, both by sea and land, to watch the nights in storm and the day in cold, whilst thou liest warm at home, secure and safe, and craves no other tribute at thy hands but love, fair looks, and true obedience. Too little payment for so great a debt. Such debt as the subject owes the prince. Even such a woman oweth to her husband, and when she is forward, peevish, sullen, sour, and no obedient to his honest will, what is she but a foul contending rebel, and graceless traitor to her loving lord? I am ashamed that women are so simple, to offer war when they should kneel for peace, or seek for rule, supremacy, and sway, when they are bound to serve, love, and obey. Why are our bodies soft and weak and smooth, and apt to toil and trouble in the world? But that our soft conditions and our hearts should well agree with our external parts. Okay, who wrote this?
Ooh, that's one is a tough one, Olivia. Maybe it's in this book, or... Oh no, it's definitely from the Red Pier. No, I don't think so. Is it the text slogan? No, wait, hold on. I know it. It's Katherine speaking to the women in Act 5, Scene 2? I got it correct! Ha! Don't have to stop myself. Anyways, back with the show. So Petruchio and Katherine get married, and they show up to the wedding in ordinary clothes, which causes a big stir among the other characters because, you know, Italians and their love for fashion. Petruchio tames Katherine through the use of starving her, saying that the food that he's serving her is not up to her standards, and she shall not eat it until it is up to par. And he literally doesn't let her sleep for a few days until she is obedient. She quickly finds out how to win at this game, and she plays along with it too. Anyways, back to Bianca and Lucencio. Lucencio finally comes out to Bianca and Baptista, Bianca's and Katherine's father, saying that he's actually Lucencio and he's a student at the local university. Hortensio and Gremio are both upset, but Gremio kind of lets it go and finds someone else. Hortensio gets really upset and he pledges revenge, but in the end he decides not to, and he marries a widow. I'll let Amanda now take it the end of the story from me. Now over to you, Amanda, and the thought bubble.
I sound like a boiled egg. Okay. So, what actually defines the taming of the shrew? Let's go to the thought bubble. Following the wedding, Lucentio hosts a party to celebrate the recent marriages of Petruchio, Lucentio, and Hortensio to Katherine, Bianca, and a widow, respectively. After a brief argument between the widow and Katherine, which is put out rather quickly, Bianca, Katherine, and the widow exit to another room. The men then discuss their wives, and Baptista comments to Petruchio, "I think thou hast the veriest shrew of all," to which Petruchio sharply rejects. He then suggests a competition to judge whose wife is most obedient. Each of the men send for their wives. Lucentio is rather confident he will win. However, Katherine is the only wife that follows orders. They send Katherine to go collect the other two women, and a shocked Baptista tells Petruchio, "For she is changed as she has never been." When Katherine returns with the other two women, she is asked to lecture the two women on the importance of being obedient to their husbands, which she delivers effectively. Hortensio comments, "Now, go thy ways, for thou hast tamed a cursed shrew." The scene is the captivating moment that Katherine has finally subjected to following the orders that are expected of her, and she finally becomes a perfect wife. This is a complete mirror image of what she was before, as she was often violent and miserable. The taming of Katherine is an accomplished task, as it was seen as impossible when the play opens. Katherine's taming is a significant scene because she goes above and beyond expectations set for herself. Thanks, Thought Bubble. My throat hurts.
Finally, a break. Oh! Well, looks like Amanda left me to conclude this video. Anyways, as Amanda just said, Katherine becomes the most obedient wife to Petruchio, and has finally learned how to be tame in front of society. But what are some themes that really Shakes implemented in this play? Well, one of them is disguise. Really Shakes was overly excited about everyday life and how in Italy, normal men would dress up as noblemen in order to woo a wife and get money. And so that's why we see Hortensio dressing up as a tutor, and how Petruchio dresses like himself, and Hortensio dresses down to a non-nobleman. The other theme is money trumps love. As we can see, Petruchio marries for love. Almost $2 million in today's currency for him to marry Katherine and to tame her is all it takes for him to get into this marriage. But the final theme, and the most relevant theme present throughout the whole play, is the theme of how women should act in the Elizabethan era society. As we can see, women are to be tamed and to be quiet. They are not to speak unless spoken to, and they should act how men require them to act. Well, I can see that you're getting bored now, so I'll let you go back to class. See you later.